Great. Welcome to Digital Asset News. Look at top stories in crypto, maybe not a bite-sized pieces. So today, just the thumbnail and title suggest, we're going to take a look at the court documents putting out for the Chapter 11 bankruptcy from Voyager and how that really intermingles with what's going on over at Circle or USDC. So we'll take a real quick look at the market. Then we'll talk about Chapter 11, the documents that have been put forth on Friday. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of a history and how you should probably buckle up potentially for some more downside. And then lastly, everybody's favorite, clown news. We'll talk about Solana getting sued. And this kind of reminds me of the XRP retail investor lawsuit all the way back in 2018. So we'll go over all those things. But first, let's take a look at the market. And as I talk about, Sundays are for dips. And that's what it is. It seems like every Sunday, sometimes people will say, well, early Monday also you'll see dips because people try to try to take a little bit of either not profits, but they're just trying to liquidate and cover some other nonsense that they may have done. And of course, there's only one market that's liquid 24/7, 365. And for most people, that's crypto and digital assets. And some people say, well, what about Forex? Well, Forex is liquid 24 hours a day, only 5 days a week. But, there's a little bit of difference there. So when we take a look at the market itself, yeah, we're down again, down 3.8%. Honestly, I think that's doing pretty good for what we're going to talk about in a little bit. And we're yet again below the 1 trillion market cap. So Bitcoin, negative 3.6. Let's see, anything up? Nope. Expect more of that. Expect more of red days. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about that. But as you're going to see, the things we're about to talk about, it's not leading me to a very, we'll say, a very bullish type of outlook. And of course, that's why you come here, just to get your daily dose of pessimism, as I say. So that's what's going on in the market. Let's take a look at this Voyager bankruptcy. And actually, there was an article recently out. It was on Bloomberg, and then Yahoo Finance picked it up. And it took a look at just some different stories about people who have lost a ton of money on Voyager just by keeping it there. Now, on this channel, the timeline was quite simple. I had been talking about Voyager for quite a long time. And then when Celsius started to go down, put out a video on June 12th in the morning, and then 9 hours later, withdrawals were stopped, which made me very weary about other things. And then, of course, when the documents came out that Voyager was doing uncollateralized loans for Three Arrows Capital over a $500 million. I'm like, there is no way this is going to last. So on June 22nd, put out a video, take all your crypto off. And that was it. And then, of course, on July 1st, just a solid amount of time, they stopped withdrawals. So this is what people are in right now. And it's just sad to see. Now, I still left a little bit of my crypto on there because I try to follow the rules listed below, meaning that I don't try to invest more than I can afford to lose, which is why I say it's all gone. When you think of it that way, then you get an understanding of where your threshold is. Next one is everything's a scam. I think we can all agree that everything is potentially a scam until proven otherwise. Trust is not for everybody. So verify, don't trust. And the next one, don't leave anything in exchanges. Very simple. Anything on centralized exchanges are due to go down. And this is one of the first times when you can take a digital asset and take it off of a platform and you can control it. You couldn't do that with cash. I mean, you can take cash out, but it's not in a digital format. You got to hide it under your mattress. Gold and silver do the same thing. But again, you got to hide it somewhere. And then this is the first time we actually take it off, put it in cold storage, and be just fine. Next one is no leverage. 25, 50, 100 points. 100x leverage. That's not my thing. And then, of course, lastly, take profits. But these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about for the next, every single day until people stop watching me. Those will be my rules. You don't have to follow those rules. A lot of people have adjusted them in their way, shape, and form. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's just things that I try to live by. And this is the problems. I'm out millions of dollars. This is the article. Pretty good. And it starts off like this. I think we've been talking about this quite a bit. Voyager is not FDIC insured. And this is just from Yahoo Finance. This is not from me saying this. This is from The reporters at Yahoo Finance, and actually Bloomberg, this is the first one. Despite its advertisements that in the rare event your USD funds are compromised with the company or our banking partner's failure, you are guaranteed a full reimbursement up to $250,000. Its banking partner, Metropolitan Commercial Bank, is FDIC insured, but Voyager is not. It's kind of interesting because, Steve Ehrlich, the CEO, put out a tweet a couple days ago and said, you will have access to your dollars after an audit by Metropolitan Commercial Bank. So we'll see how that works out. And then this is interesting. Learning this, the user of 6 years said was like a kick in the stomach. First of all, Voyager hasn't been around 6 years. It was created in 2018. So I don't know how the heck that guy was using it for 6 years. But maybe it was that's just a quote. And people get dates wrong. It happens. Voyager, however, is trying to restructure and not liquidate. This is true. We're going to take a look at those documents in a bit, meaning that it hopes to return at least a percentage of its customers' investments, according to court filings. I like that. I mean, if we have to take a haircut, that's what it is. Just weeks before Voyager filed for bankruptcy protection, CEO Steve Ehrlich stated that customers' assets were safe. In early June, Voyager tweeted that all products and services are fully operational and remain unaffected by current market conditions, including trading rewards, deposits, and withdrawals. We take risk management very seriously, and safeguarding customer assets is our number one priority. So if I was a lawyer, and truth be told, I am not, you can make a case that yeah, that's true. Products and services in early June were fully operational at that point, and remain unaffected by current market conditions. I don't know if that's 100% true. You could trade rewards, deposits, and withdrawals were available at that time. And when it says we take risk management very seriously and safeguarding customer assets are number one priority, I got to tell you, I think you might have a case there. Not a lawyer, but if you're going to give uncollateralized loans to a bunch of degenerates, and it's debatable whether you know it or not that they were. Probably they didn't know, sure, whatever. But they did give a lot of money away uncollateralized, and that's just insane to me. This is that struck me was interesting. I didn't know this. Scott Melker, well-known crypto investor and podcaster with almost 1 million Twitter followers, tells Fortune that he's been using Voyager since 2019 and has multiple 7 figures stuck on the platform. So look, Scott Melker, that's the Wolf of All Streets. Wolf of All Streets. Pretty big podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter and whatnot. And I just thought it was amazing that guy's been around for a while. And as far as an investor goes, he's more of like a trader, I believe. And even in this situation, he got stuck too. Multiple millions of dollars. I just thought that was interesting how that worked out. So that was just that one story. Now let's get into the presentation. And we had talked about this yesterday, but there's some questions that came up. And especially those questions were USDC, stablecoin, and Circle. And this is going to lay it out. This is going to be part of what lays it out. And then we have to go over to the website and look at who actually owns Circle, the products that are behind it, who is the CEO, and how are they protecting USDC. So let's just jump in. So this right here is the presentation that is given to the bankruptcy court hearing. This was on July 8th. Let's say the 10th. Today is the 10th, yeah. So it'll be Friday. And we talked about this yesterday again, but it's worth repeating. Voyager has, and this is the great thing about bankruptcy. No one wants to go through bankruptcy, let's be honest. But you have to be transparent, and you have to put everything out there so that you can restructure. And if you don't put everything out in the right way, legally, you are essentially going against what the legal terms are for bankruptcy, Chapter 11. So you have to be as transparent and open the books as much as possible. So Voyager has over 110 million of cash and owned crypto assets on hand. It's pretty good, 110 million. But you're going to see that they're in debt for a 1-point-something billion. 350 million of cash is held in the benefit of customers account at Metro, Commercial Bank, Metropolitan. That's the one that we were just talking about, the FDIC. So 350 million of cash, your cash, is held over there. Approximately 1.3 billion of crypto assets on platform. That's interesting. $1.3 billion of crypto assets on platform. And they owe 1.2 something billion in loans. Claims against Three Arrows Capital of more than $650 million. Oh, what happened there? Don't know. And this is the overview. This is how things work. Again, they're kind of like the hotels.com. They just find the different crypto exchanges, find you the best deal, and try to give you a savings, and they pocket the rest. I think we can all understand that part. Great. So overview, trading, custodial services, then lending. That's what screwed them. Lending part. There's over 100 unique crypto assets to trade. 3.5 million. I didn't know they had that many users. 3.5 million active users. They were making some pretty big headway, but it just takes one boneheaded move to really screw it all up. And this one right here is where I think a lot of people got confused. I got confused. And I'm going to ask for feedback in a bit. But this is the timeline. 2018, Voyager founded. So I don't know how that guy was doing that for 6 years, but whatever. Became publicly traded as far as a publicly traded company in 2019. They launched Apple. They acquired Ethos, which was the French exchange, which would have allowed them to branch out into the EU, but that just didn't happen for whatever reason. Anyhow, Android app launchpad. And this one in early 2020 acquires Circle. Oh, I'm sorry. LGO is the exchange in France. Excuse me. Ethos was the cryptocurrency. Early 2020 acquires Circle. And I was looking at this. I'm like, Circle, the entire company? So this is what we have. February 12th, 2020, welcome Circle Invest. Voyager acquires Circle Invest's retail customers. Voyager entered into a strategic agreement to acquire Circle Invest, the retail digital asset business, from Circle Internet Financial Inc., including all of its retail customers, which is pretty sizable, I believe. It was, yeah. We couldn't be more excited to welcome Circle Invest 40,000 plus customers to the Voyager community. So that is a part of Circle. Let me break that down. So if you go to circle.com and if you speak English like me, /EN, there's a link in the description. You can find it. And if you take a look over at products, so Circle Invest used to be one of their products, as I understand it. So you have Circle Accounts, you have Circle Yield, offering business crypto returns within the complexity, built on USDC and fully secured by Bitcoin collateral. And this other one called Seed Invest, which I thought was kind of interesting, where you can be an angel investor. So do you want to know how to become a millionaire as an angel investor? Start as a billionaire. It's an old joke, but angel investing, pretty risky stuff. That's not my thing. So again, with Circle, which is, let me go back, which is the entire corporation, which is Circle Internet Financial Inc. They have many products, and one of those was Circle Invest. So I think there's a little bit of a difference as far as products goes. So because people are asking about, what about USDC? If they own all of Circle, does that mean that USDC collapses because Voyager is in Chapter 11? As I can see it, this is how I believe it to be true, that it's just a part of the company. And then to get into it, here was the old website, Circle Invest. And it talked about discontinuation of Circle. On April 28th, 2022, the Circle Invest mobile app will start the process of discontinuing functionality as well as support for all U.S. customers. Why is that? Because the FAQ says, I was previously informed that my account will be converted over to Voyager. Why has that not happened? Most of our customers' accounts and funds were converted to Voyager at the end of March 2020, which would be in timeline with, of course, when they made the announcement in February 2020. So again, just Circle Invest. And then this is the CEO, Jeremy Allaire, for Circle, crypto payments company that created USDC. And this is on July 6th. He says, with so many crypto lending platforms under stress, we wanted to provide a detailed update on Circle Yield. And now we perform and manage through this market. So remember, the timeline for Voyager was July 1st is when they shut down withdrawals. And here's the CEO of Circle going, let me just clarify some things. So what he talked about was Circle Yield, built differently. Again, different products. Circle Yield, Seed Invest. Then you have your Circle account. For clarity, The USD reserve is entirely separate from Circle's other products and services and protected by laws and regulations. What is that? Now this, try not to snort and chuckle, because it is pretty funny of an article, especially as they lay it down in the way that they did. So props to Jeremy Fox Green. Your money is safe. Your money is safe. So says every single CEO of every single financial institution everywhere, right up until the moment it isn't. Isn't that true? All financial institutions are inherently risky. That's why society developed layers and laws and regulations designed to make them safer and protect consumers. And I got to tell you, I know that this is not the industry that likes regulations, but who's with me now? Just asking the question. Stick it in the comments section. I mean, some of you hate regulations. I can get it. But how many of you are like, maybe just a little? Safe is a relative term, not an absolute. There is always risk. Our risk management capabilities are world-class, is the other thing said by every single CEO of every single financial institution everywhere, right up until they aren't. When doors are shut and customers can't get their money back. I love this part here. USDC is different. When I was reading this, I was like, man, that's ballsy to say that, but okay, how is that? And again, not financial advice, it's just the information they put out. I don't trust anybody. It's delivering sound money on the internet. Just like billions of people use the internet to exchange trillions of bytes of data each day, we believe that billions of people will one day use the internet every day to exchange trillions of dollars of value, near instantly and nearly for free. Why am I saying this? It's because it gives you an idea of how a long-term corporation tries to situate themselves for massive success as time goes on. I'm going to read this article and I'm going to tell you a little side story. This will benefit everyone. Releasing billions of dollars trapped value, e.g. 2+2, T+2 settlement times. I know if you're trying to do wire transfer, thing like that, the settlement time is a bit long, especially if you're doing globally. Reducing economic rents, aka 6% fees, which is pretty good. I think it's much higher in some places. 6% fees on cross-border remittances, 3% fees on credit card transactions. And actually here in the United States, it's 2.9% plus 30 cents transaction fees if you're using Stripe or PayPal. Accelerating financial services innovation, e.g. long tail, and financial inclusion, e.g. increased access to wealth storage. Minimizing risk with USDC is our economic incentive. So that's what we do. So let me just back up for a second and just tell you this. I never understood people, let me get this out of here. I never understood people when they had a great product, they would throw it and screw it up by just doing some of the most shady stuff of all time, or just not thinking or having a really good structure around you to safeguard that. See this pool here? I know I'm always saying it's a green screen. Shocker, it's not a green screen. This pool, when we first got it, there was a company. It looked like a great company. And they had done some pretty good work in Las Vegas and New Mexico, and then they were branching out into here, so they claimed. When I took a look at their stuff, it looked pretty good. The guy came over, he's like, okay, this is going to be X amount of dollars, half up front, half upon delivery. Great. Came out here, dug the big pit, everything was good, and then didn't see him for a week, then 4 weeks, then 6 weeks, then 8 weeks, and there was always an excuse. Oh, the rain, oh, the sun, oh, the wind, whatever. And we had to take that person to court because he never came back to finish the job. And it made me flabbergasted. I'm like, if you have a good product, just do the right thing at the right time with the right people, and you can have a massive successful business. That's all you have to do. It's just like in the military. Just show up with the right uniform and don't screw up too bad. It's just amazing to me. So like when I see someone with Circle, I'm like, okay, well that makes sense that they want to be a real global power in the future, and they have to do these things. Will they do it? Again, it's hard to trust anybody these days. I'll just be honest with you. So to finish this up, USDC reserves are protected by laws and regulations. Sometimes laws and regulations aren't a bad thing. When we first launched USDC, we had to persuade regulators to regulate us. That's crazy to think about. Circle is regulated under state money transmission laws, and USDC is regulated as an electronic stored value instrument. Money transmission laws provide that Circle maintain legal title to the USDC reserves. What does that mean? Well, first of all, they don't have an equitable interest, unlike a bank or exchange. And these reserves are assets that belong to USDC holders, not Circle, and are held in segregated accounts designed for the benefit of USDC holders. Circle is not allowed to use the USDC reserves for any other purpose, like how a bank can loan it out, or an exchange, an unregulated institution. We can't lend them out. We can't borrow against them, and we can't use them to pay our bills. And that was, I got to tell you, and this is not going to be popular. You know, when that document came out about Coinbase, and people were like, that's just FUD. And in there, it talked about how they don't separate the assets of the individual investor who is using Coinbase to hold their crypto. They're not separating that as like a separate type of entity, and they can use it for whatever they want to, meaning that if they go bankrupt, and we see this going on places, that they can use those cryptos and digital assets to get themselves out of bankruptcy. That's essentially what it came down to. And what USDC is saying here is we don't do that. Everything has to be separate. And it's actually the same thing. I hate to say it, but good old Gary Gensler brought that up in a congressional hearing. He's like, I'd like to see everything separated. Don't shoot the messenger. That's just what it was. So then, in the most unlikely and extreme cases of a Circle bankruptcy, segregated USDC reserves should remain redeemable at face value. I like this word, though, should remain. I don't like that word. Should. Shielded from Circle creditors and separated from bankruptcy estate per the protections afforded under state money transmission laws, Section 651 of the New York Banking Law. To be clear, USDC reserves are separate from the rest of Circle's businesses and operations and are protected by laws and regulations. Again, if you came here late, where'd it go? Different businesses are, Circle account, Circle Yield, and Seed Invest. A little bit different than what I believe Voyager took over. I could be wrong. Correct me in the comment section, but that's what we have. And this was the most important to me as far as USDC. USDC reserves are managed to minimize risk. We hold approximately 80% of USDC reserves in US Treasury bills, 80%, with durations of 3 months or less. These are considered among the safest in the world, backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. I know everybody's laughing right now, but sure. Sometimes I got to tell you, do you want the full faith and credit of the US government or the full faith and credit of some organization that's been around for 4 or 5 years? Just saying. We hold approximately 20% of USDC reserves, such as cash, within the U.S. banking system, with partners including Silvergate, Signature Bank, and New York Community Bank, among others. And they talk about how they try to segregate it because it's only $250,000 per account or per section for FDIC. We hold cash in the banking system so we are able to redeem USDC near instantly upon request. And this part's pretty funny. If customers have accounts with certain of our banking partners, they are able to near instantly mint and redeem and settle USDC 24/7, 365, even when the U.S. banking system is closed for business, which is most of the time. And that's really what it comes down to as far as Circle. Because when I took a look at this, acquires Circle, again, on Voyager, that's Circle Invest. And I don't think, because if you take a look here, again, at Circle and the company, and let's see, Circle Ventures, how about? Your CEO is still the chairman, Jeremy Allaire, who actually testified before Congress and said, hey, here's our audit. Here's how we're backed 100% for all assets. You still got a CEO and so on and so forth. So again, as I look at this, it doesn't appear that Voyager bought out entirety of Circle. They just bought out what was called Circle Invest retail customers. Okay, so back to the story. This is where it gets juicy. Here's the debts. So I just found this odd, though. Alameda Ventures, they gave them a loan of $200 million of USDC and 15,000 Bitcoin, which is about 500 million at that point. And then I think it'll go down lower, 75 million USDC. So that's a pretty good chunk amount. And then, of course, at some point, Alameda, and remember, this is Alameda Ventures and Alameda Research. There's a different part of the company that is Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and all the different companies that he has. And we'll talk about that in a second. But it's an Alameda Ventures, 75 million. So you can see that, unfortunately, they say this is total of 75 million because that's what they drew up. But they still have 15,000 Bitcoin and 200 million of USDC. So 500, 700 million dollars that they still have, I guess, just hanging around. But they unfortunately have a massive amount of loans out. Three Arrows Capital, they're not going to get squat back. Very little. So that's 654 million. Kiss that goodbye. Maybe 90% or more. Alameda Research, I mean, they're still there. We'll see how it goes. Novogratz, Galaxy Digital, they could probably get 34, 27, 18, 13, and 0.75, but it's not going to equal up to this. And that's where the liquidity and the solvency issue comes from, and so on and so forth. Anyhow, headwinds. And then it just talks about all the stuff that we know about. The market's kind of sucking right now. And of course, when the tide rushes out, we see who's swimming naked. Unfortunately. And again, it talks about stable coins and UST, Three Arrows Capital. What does it say here? Anything good? Oh, I will tell you this. There was a story about Three Arrows Capital is a Singapore-based hedge fund. Sun Tzu, I forgot his name. Zhu and his partner, when they went to the bankruptcy court, the lawyer said, we don't really know where they are. They're not in Singapore. That's all I can tell you. So those guys are gone. 3AC was heavily invested in Luna. On June 27th, 3AC was ordered by a court in the BVI to commence the liquidation proceedings. And on July 1st, 3AC commenced Chapter 15 proceedings in the bankruptcy court for Southern District of New York. And that's pretty much the same time. Wasn't it July 1st when they shut off? Yeah, July 1st is also when Voyager shut off withdrawals. I like this, the proactive steps. So what did they do? What did they do to stave this off? Here's what they did. They filed Chapter 11. They lowered the gate on July 1st. They called a default on June 27th. On June 22nd, which was actually pretty good, company enters into a 500 million Alameda loan agreement. June 15th, I don't know how that's proactive. Dow enters bear market according to OIT, and Luna crashes. I think the proactive step would be not loan out that huge, massive amount to these guys uncollateralized. But again, how would you collateralize that loan? 654 million. We want a loan of 650. Okay, well, give us 1.2 billion. We don't have that. Okay. Proactive steps. So just like we saw with like Alameda Ventures and Alameda Holdings and whatever else, these are all the different companies, corporations, LLCs that are under Voyager. So of course, the top, Voyager Digital Limited, is in Canada, publicly traded company. You have Voyager Digital Holdings in Delaware, HTC Brokerage, Digital Brokerage, LGO SaaS, Voyager Europe in France. I didn't know that even existed. Good for them. Still didn't roll out. Voyager Intellectual Property, LLC, Delaware, and a bunch of different companies of where they can kind of parse things out. So it kind of helps to do that to avoid some type of creditors and paying everything back. And here's the juicy stuff. Here's the restructuring process. You got two options. You got two flavors. Pick your choice. You can do a third-party plan or sale, meaning they're going to sell it to somebody. Let's say Sam Bankman. Hey, Sam, buy this. Okay. And then the third party owns equity of the reorganized Voyager, or a big chunk, or the majority. Or they say, you know what? We're not going to get that. We're going to do it ourselves. There's a standalone restructuring, and then customers own equity of reorganized Voyager. Well, how does that look like? There's two. You got the third party or the standalone. In the third party transaction, it's negotiations. And they've already talked to 60 different places. 20 showed interest, and only one came back and said, we might be able to do this on the timeline affected. And that's why they went into bankruptcy, because maybe they're looking for the other 20 to go, okay, look, we got some more time, which I'm okay with. Take your time. I just want my little money back. So again, account holder claims. Account holders will receive, this is what will happen if they did the standalone. Account holders, you and I, will receive a pro rata share of one, to be determined percentage of the specific crypto held by such account holders. Again, probably take a haircut. Here it is, 90%, 80% of the value. 100% of new common shares in reorganized company. So you would actually hold shares of the publicly traded company, looks like. And then you'd also get Voyager tokens and any recovery on account of the 3AC loan. Newsflash, not going to happen too much. So you could potentially get this. You could take the haircut for the crypto if they do the standalone. You could also get shares in the company. And then you could also get BGX tokens plus, and then they get back with 3AC. Like, hey, we got back 20 cents. Here you go. So that's not okay. That's an option. The plan will provide a mechanism by which each individual account holder may elect to increase its pro rata share of new common shares, subject to certain maximum participants. Other unsecured claims. Other general unsecured claims include, whoops, sorry. Alameda Ventures shall be canceled, release, discharge, all existing equity, da-da-da-da. Okay, so that's what we got here. Let me make sure. Hold on. And yeah, perfect. So here's what happened. They reached out through legal matters or legal representatives, said, hey, who wants to be part of this? 60 came in, 20 executed an NDA, and then because of the time frame, only one said, yeah, maybe we can do this, which is better than zero. But I'm thinking with this is what's going to cause them to, because of Chapter 11, give them more time. And then it just goes over, let's see. Voyager is facing several legal and operational challenges, including attempts by several states to terminate the company's money transmitter license. That would violate Section 525. And then objection of the company's Chapter 11 processes to provide customers with clarity. Companies are pursuing all available and da-da-da. And that's pretty much it. And Bitcoin First Gold says, if I was the judge, I would be asking some serious questions how I'm as both investor, creditor, and debtor to the company. So that's the documents in a long nutshell. So let me just think about that in the comment section. But I think the big thing was just where it stated that they had purchased Circle, and didn't seem like that was actually the case. They took over a part of Circle's subsidiary and said, we're going to part this, which left them with what was it called? Circle Yield and Seed Investments. And again, links in the description for all the different documents we took a look at. So the question then would be, well, do you feel safe with USDC? I don't trust anybody anymore. I don't trust Tether. I mean, USDC makes a pretty good case, but I mean, how many times we heard these good cases and then they come out and go, oh, surprise, there's this one thing that we didn't say. So to me, it's just, I would rather just be safe. And to be safe, I would just take it all off. And if you think that, well, what about, to depeg and whatnot? If you feel like, and I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your dad. I'm not a financial advisor. But for me personally, I would probably take a lot of it out. Well, I'm going to take a lot of it out and just go into cash. I know people say, well, all the inflation and something like that. Well, look, I'm okay with 8.5 or 10.5% inflation over the year, over time, as opposed to having everything depegged. Just saying, I think now is the time to be a little bit more safer and prudent than to be a little bit more risky and talking about when Lambo. So let me just think about it in the comment section. Let's finish this up because we went a little bit too long on that one. Buckle up for some downside. More good news. Sorry. Oh, there was one last thing I would say like this. I hate when I screw this up, but you know how we just went over everything and everything was laid out there. It pretty much told us, like, here's the debt, here's who we have into debt, here's what we have available right now, here's what we're trying to do, here's where here's how the structured plan would go. It's very transparent, right? Did you like that? Or would you just like no one to tell you anything? It's up to you. And this is what Simon Dixon was saying about Celsius. And I got to agree with him. Celsius Network community keeps asking me what they can do. Simple. Request Celsius share their financial position of the entire company, not just the subsidiaries, like all other distressed crypto lenders under NDA with Bank of the Future. So if you want to see something like that, let your voice be heard. Tweet it out, tag Wyszynski and tag Celsius and go, I want to see all these things. And we'd like to be a little more transparent because we don't know how bad it actually is. So tell us how bad it is so we can go in the right direction. So that was just that part. And then this was very quickly some downside. This was just separate graph. This is from Pablo Heman. I got former investment bank trader, fresh ideas in crypto. So it's just still data. Doesn't matter. So this is just taking a look at the S&P 500 has officially entered the bear market because it's declined 20% without a 20% rally. And we can see I mean, the S&P has gone, this is, I believe this is here in red, down 20%. So I think we're at 79% to its all-time high over time, or just over a certain time frame. And you can just see that usually what happens is you're looking at between, if you want to go depression level, you're looking at a reduction of 65%, which is not great, but somewhere around here, somewhere around 50%, maybe 55%, just in the official S&P 500. And if you believe, like I believe, that we're pretty much correlated to the traditional markets, NASDAQ and S&P 500, we've gone down pretty substantially. So you're going to see a little bit more downside coming forth, especially with the market starting to go down. Again, what's liquid 24/7, 365? It's us. And that's where a lot of people invest in the market go to pull some money out to pay other things they do and all the degenerate stuff that they are happening. So let me let you think about that. If you think that's a possibility, or you think, hey, all-time highs, baby, 2022 is the next year, when Lambo? I'd love to hear that one in the comments. And then lastly, let's get to it. And I need you guys to help me too. So this is clown news. I love this stuff. Solana is investing. Solana investors are suing Solana because they say it was a unregistered security. And I have to tell you, I think this is, it's funny because it's the same thing that was going on beforehand when Ripple got sued by an investor saying it's a security. And this thing just keeps happening over and over again. There's no changes. This time is different. It's never different. And you're going to see more lawsuits coming forth of investors who said, you know what, you didn't tell me it was a security. And the same thing that happened here. So here's what's going on with Solana. Just real quick. Solana investor filed a class action lawsuit against key parties in Solana ecosystem for allegedly making misleading statements and profiting from selling unregistered securities. Mark Young filed on July 1st. And this is against the CEO, the investment firm Multicoin Capital, and co-founder Kyle Samani from FalconX. So again, this is the thing. I believe that if we don't like these things to happen, this all it does is just cause more negativity. And then we get, these projects that get embattled into legal processes. And then, of course, they lose share and then just kind of wipes it away. How about we just do this? Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just say, okay, Gensler, you want everything as a security? Go right ahead. Make Bitcoin a commodity. You've talked about it before. Just do that. Let's have everything as a security. And then all these crap projects that are out there that are just small and just sucking away small amounts of liquidity, all 19,000 of them, now they have to be registered as securities. Go right ahead. Have fun. And then some will die, and that's how it has to be. And then the stronger ones might get snatched up by bigger projects. Then they can pull the resources, developers and marketing and things like that, and they can actually grow. I'm tired of all these worthless projects, quite honestly. And then, of course, if everything's a security, good luck suing, and then go from there. Anyhow, let me just think about that in the comment section. And that concludes today's stories, today's news. First of all, two things. Is the music too much? I don't know. I don't know if that was too much. Is that too loud? Or is like that just the perfect tone, the perfect touch? Let me know in the comment section. Let's get on to Q&A and go from there. Oh, and if you have to take off, it's Sunday. Get out of here. Go enjoy times. Fun times, fun times. Music's kind of annoying. It's true. Could barely hear it. Great. No, it's cool. All right.